He wants to train. Avaricious said that his request was very suspicious, but Fado agreed to train with him because not every day could you train with a holy knight. So the man introduced himself, his name was Aaron Barbados, and offered his house for her to stay. May appeared and told him that she had found a place for them to stay. Then, we see May sleeping while Fado trains with Aaron. At first, he seemed very slow, but then one of his eyes turned red due to the effect of her greed, which allowed him to move faster. Fado could dodge attacks easily, so her training went well. Aaron then said they would continue tomorrow, but this time it would be real combat training. May agreed, and then Aaron left to distribute food to the villagers. However, when they went to the kitchen, they saw May sleeping and had made a mess while looking for food. Fado apologized, but Aaron didn't mind. He went to do his duties, while May, who was fast asleep, became a target of jokes when Fado decided to paint her face. Then, at night, we see a picture of Aaron with his family. Fado is surprised to see his child, and Avaricious says that he resembles him. Perhaps that's why he wanted to train her. May realizes the joke Fado played and gets angry, planning to get back. The next day, Aaron trains Fado again, this time with a sword. Fado only has a wooden stick, but Aaron says he must be able to fight with it in various situations. Fado is afraid the stick will break, but he is careful. Aaron tells her that now can control her attributes, and Fado is very grateful for the lessons taught. Suddenly, May appears to take revenge. She speaks to Fado, saying that she has a gift. Fado immediately paints his face and looks very funny and nice, and now they will be the same. At night, Aaron serves a very delicious dinner because the next day Fado and May will leave. May will eat a lot to satisfy her appetite, but here we find out that she has a problem. Her taste buds are damaged, so she can't taste anything. This problem is the price of her ability. Angry then, Fado asks Aaron if there is something inside the castle. He always turns off the lights. He recounts that it used to be his castle 15 years ago. He had to undertake a mission on the kingdom's orders because his family and his people lost guards like him. Unfortunately, one day the undead attacked, eventually killing everyone. The undead still lurks in the castle, which is why Aaron didn't return because he wouldn't be able to face it all alone. At that time, Fado felt something inside him, which was Galia urging him to consume souls. So, he wanted to go to the castle to kill the undead. Aaron said he would accompany him because this was his fight too, so they set off immediately. May wouldn't go with them because she would stay to guard the village, and upon arrival, Fado and Aaron saw all the lights on as they entered the castle. Aaron was shocked to see his family and all his people. He couldn't believe what was happening because they were all dead. What happened was just an illusion because then his son began to attack him. Fado wanted to help him, but Avaricious told him not to because Gula wouldn't withstand souls like that since they were not alive and more like constant agony. So if Fado killed them, those souls wouldn't be able to go to the afterlife and would be trapped in hell without any chance of salvation. So he refused to fight, but he was worried that Aaron would fight alone. Aaron told him not to worry and went to look for the undead king. He said the place smelled really bad. He shot his arrow so the undead king came out, and Fado was surprised to see him. He evaluated him and realized he had more than 1,000,000 attributes. But it didn't scare him. Remember that he couldn't kill anyone, so he just slowed time until Aaron arrived. But then he struggled because the affected people began to obstruct him, but he was saved by Aaron, who had finished fighting with his family. At that moment, he had memories of when he had to leave to undertake his mission. His wife and son were sad because he had to leave. He had told them not to worry that once his mission was done, he would return. Now, he regretted being late because he could have returned before the undead appeared. He could have taken care of it, and everyone would still be alive. But now the only thing he could do was defeat them to end their suffering. Aaron wouldn't kill them but would cast a purification spell so all the souls would be free. Fado would also help him, and finally, they succeeded in saving everyone. After that, Aaron would do it with his wife and son's souls. His son told him that he was not guilty of everything that had happened, so he didn't need to feel guilty anymore. In the end, Aaron came to save them. Aaron told them that he shouldn't have left at that time because they might have suffered very badly because of him. So he apologized to them. They told him that it didn't matter and now everything would be okay. After saying this, they hug each other, and we see how all the souls disappear to rest in peace. But suddenly, the soul of the undead king was not fully purified and wanted to obstruct this. Fado wouldn't let it get in the way, so he eventually killed it. But we see that he didn't feel good about killing the undead and seemed to forget, but then he was okay. Then they left the palace to go home, but they met a group of skeletons, so they had to fight to get through. They fought for a long time without realizing it was already morning. May was waiting angrily because they were late, but Fado asked her to calm down. Then, Aaron gave May payment for protecting the village, which turned out to be quite a lot of money, so May wasn't angry anymore. Aaron then told Mike that he saw him somewhere else. Mike recounted that 50 years ago monsters appeared in this village, and May, who still looked the same as before, joined the fight. Fado was surprised to hear this. When Mike said it was true, May explained that she was a ghost who couldn't die and had to repay her debt. This made Fado doubt himself. After that, they had to leave and say goodbye to Eren. However, Eren told Fado that when Fado was done with what he had to do, Fado had to return there because there was something important he needed to say. After saying that, they left. Elsewhere, we see Raphael and Memel observing the Philosopher's Stone. They said that this stone could cure any illness or wound, but they were disturbed by a servant who told them that the undead killed Adu. This made Raphael very angry. He wondered who the undead was. Elsewhere, we see Fado traveling with Maine, who keeps eating a lot of food as usual. Fado wondered if he was really thirsty or just greedy. Maine said that anger burns a lot of calories and he was very hungry because of it. He used up all the food for this journey, but to not be too mean, he invited Fado to eat the leftover food. Then May sat beside him and immediately felt very sleepy, so she laid her legs on Fado's lap to sleep. Fado was confused as to why May was sleeping on his lap, but May said it was more comfortable than sleeping on wood, so he allowed it. Fado observed her and thought about what May said earlier, that she was a ghost who couldn't die and that she also had something to do. Fado asked Greed if he knew anything about this, and Greed said yes, but he would know more if they stayed together. He also warned him not to ask too many questions because it could make her uncomfortable. Fado had many questions but decided to hold back. Some feelings might be problematic, but on the other side, we see Roxy and her group just arriving at Hassan Palace. If only they hadn't been late, they might have met Fado. Miria would be amazed to see how big and beautiful the palace is. Roxy says that Eren used to live here, but now it's said to be owned by a lich, or more precisely, a living corpse, but we all know that Fado and Eren defeated it. Roxy and her group are going to explore the palace. She says she feels strange because she doesn't sense the presence of any monsters, which makes her believe that someone might have come and wiped them all out. Just then, Eren appears to welcome them all. Everyone will be surprised that he's still here and working. He tells Roxy that she has grown a lot. She asks how he knows her, and he says he's an old friend of Simon's and Roxy's parents. Then he says that they asked her to name their daughter, so Roxy's name was given by Eren. She will be surprised because she was never told about it. Mogan tells her that it turns out a hero gave her the name. Eren says it's more like a retired hero because he lost the ones he should have protected, his family, and his people, so he had no reason to keep fighting. Roxy says she managed to defeat the living corpse occupying the palace. He says yes, but he didn't do it alone, but with a very talented man who helped him a lot in battle. Everyone says they want to meet him, but he's already left this place. Roxy asks if he can tell his name. Eren says he can't because the man asked him to keep his name secret. He apologizes for the inconvenience, so they decide to leave. Eren asks if they're heading to Gallia. He asks how he knows, and he concludes that's the only reason they would pass by here, a holy night. Eren asks if they were sent by someone. Roxy says no, she did it on her own will. Even so, Eren believes they manipulated her into doing it. But if that's the case, Roxy is still willing to protect her people because she inherited her father's ideals. Eren is surprised because he just learned that Mason's father passed away. It saddens him, then he asks Roxy if she's willing to accept his teachings. Promises to teach her how to fight so she'll be ready when she arrives in Gallia. She says she gladly accepts. While the others help clean the palace, Eren will teach Roxy how to fight. On the other side, we see Fado May seeming lost in a place full of ruins. Fado asks where they are. He said that he was born here but doesn't remember it because he ended up in the imperial capital after birth, but this place is important. Then they walked a bit and found some sort of giant egg. Fado said it was a cocoon, but it turned out to be something strange. Avaricious said that it was a biological weapon used by the Gallia army in ancient times. Inside it lived a giant monster. Fado assessed it, but he made a mistake. This means he couldn't see its abilities, only its attributes and name. Its name was Haniel. Ma explained to Fado that they should attack the monster's core because if they attacked its body, the monster wouldn't die. Without hesitation, he leaped to break some kind of egg. From there, we see a giant monster emerging, and as we look closer, we see someone in its chest. Fado asked May who was, and she answered that it was the core of the monster, the place they had to attack. Fado saw that he had the same red eyes as hers, and immediately she managed to intimidate the monster. Ma asked Fado to quickly kill it, but Fado didn't want to because she didn't want the monster to suffer forever after she killed it. M told her not to hesitate, that it's just a monster with human skin, so if she's too naive, she'll soon kill it. The creature prepared to fight. They also tried to cut its limbs to weaken it, but the monster could regenerate itself without any problem. Fado was impressed by its extraordinary strength. May believed that now she was releasing more power than before, and Avaricious said it was because of her axe that increased its weight. The monster then transformed, now having wings. May asked Fado to attack and asked her to stand behind him. Fado saw it like Roxy always protecting him, which made her angry because he also wanted to help. So she decided to release a bit of her ability, Gula, to boost her strength. May warned her to be careful because Gallia could control her, but she said not to worry. She soon activated her ability. Fado seemed to struggle to control herself at first, but then could control it. They were ready to return to battle. May tried to create a distraction while Fado prepared a sandstorm attack that, when successful, would stop the monster. Now it's May's turn. She asks for the axe to enhance her strength, which then obeys her, so she grips it tightly and heads towards the monster, eventually managing to bring it down. Avarisha asks Fado to finish off the core before it recovers, but it's too late. The monster has created a shield. Fado tries to think of what to do. Avarisha suggests using the scythe because this weapon can cut through anything, but it turns out not so. It seems this shield is much stronger. However, at that moment Fado sees its weakness and attacks, managing to destroy it instantly. The monster flees in a bad condition as it hasn't fully recovered yet, so it starts moving away from that place, meaning it's running away. May asks Fado to climb onto the axe because this way she will hit the monster towards her, so when Fado climbs up, Fado asks Avarisha what will do to kill it, and she answers that it's the right time to use her new transformation, which when done, we see that the scythe now has double blade eyes. This time Fado will attack the core, but when she's close, the monster creates the shield again. But this time Fado is inside it, which means she will explode with the monster. But before that happens, Fado will kill it in a very epic way by stabbing the scythe into the monster's chest, and this way she manages to defeat it, but at that moment she activates her telepathy, and we see what she's thinking. Fado sees many children and a scientist, so to speak, but then she sees Daniel hugging May. This makes Fado ponder, but then it's morning and May has made some sort of gravestone for Jill. Fado asks if she knows him. She says yes but doesn't remember much because it's been a long time. But her duty is to kill him because he's become a chimera, because if not, or if no one does, people will keep dying. Then Fado asks for something if someday, through abilities, will lose control. He asks her to kill her because only she can stop her if she loses control. He hugs her and says it's okay, that if that happens, she'll kill her. After that, Fado says she's heading to Babylon and has a job to do because she promised to build a village for everyone. So here they part after walking for a while. Fado has arrived at this city, which is a fortress between the kingdom and Gallia. Its walls are so strong that they've withstood monster attacks in Gallia for 1,000 years. Fado was looking for the entrance. Avarisha said it was on the other side, but he refused and believed that there must be another entrance. However, Avarisha made him understand. So, Fado turned around. Fado said he already knew a lot and asked if he had been there before, and he answered yes when he was with the previous owner. The previous owner also had the ability of capital sin, but unfortunately, he ended up dead and was left alone. Avarisha told him that the capital sin weapons are eternal and can never be damaged. But being eternal is not a perfect path because we always have to say goodbye to everyone. When he entered, he realized that everything was expensive. Avarisha said that it was because bringing supplies to this place was very expensive. Suddenly, a holy knight said that someone from the capital had arrived in Babylon, and people immediately approached to welcome. Fado wanted to see who it was and was surprised because Roxy and her people had already arrived. But someone behind him whispered that he would die. Fado turned around and didn't see anyone, so he thought it was just his imagination. But a girl who said that Roxy would die here. The next day, Roxy was officially welcomed. The Holy Knight Nord said that he was very honored to be here. Roxy thanked him for taking care of Babylon during his father's absence. Deeply regretted Sermo's death. Because Roxy couldn't save him, Roxy asked if she was there when his father died, and she answered yes with a little sadness. He asked Fado to lift his head and tell him that he came to this city to follow in his father's footsteps, to protect the people and defeat the monsters of Gallia. They will work together and this shows that they will support each other. Then Roxy decided to explore the city with Mugen and Miriam. On the other hand, we see Fado who is also staring at the city. He says that everything here is expensive, so he needs more money. He sees a weapon shop and is interested in a sword sheath that catches his attention. However, he said it must be very expensive. The shop owner came out to greet him but realized that Fado's cloak was in poor condition. He looked at her in a somewhat awkward way, and then Fado asked how much the sheath was. The shop owner replied that it was just a sample, but they could make it to fit his sword. He lent Avarisha to be examined. Fado was impressed with its appearance and Avarisha felt proud. Then, the shop owner said that the sheath for this sword would be 500 gold coins. Fado couldn't believe it was so expensive, so he took his sword and left immediately. Avarisha said they should collect the money. But Fado disagreed because it was too expensive and there were more important needs like food and decent sleep. Then he went outside Babylon to hunt some monsters and met a group of fighters. Their leader offered Fado to join and earn some money, but Fado refused because he worked alone. The leader apologized for disturbing him and thought Fado might have been a holy knight because of his neat appearance. They went hunting monsters. Avarisha told Fado that people like them should change their appearance, meaning he should get different clothes. The priest would agree to this, so he went to kill some monsters to earn some coins. After walking for a while, we saw in the distance a green sky, which according to Avarisha was Gallia beyond. In this place, the atmosphere was different, including the foul smell coming from monster corpses. Fado continued walking a little further and encountered some green particles in the air. Avaricious said it was highly poisonous moss spores. If inhaled too much, it could make moss grow in the lungs. Fado continued walking and realized there was a horde of orcs approaching. These monsters carried simple but clever weapons, so he had to be careful. But as he was about to face them, the warriors he had just met moved forward to kill them. But suddenly more orcs appeared from another direction to attack the warriors from behind. Avaricious said it was his chance to become a hero again. So, he immediately went to confront them. Fado had surprising speed. The orcs noticed it and started attacking, but Fado made Avaricious transform into a very strong shield that could withstand all kinds of attacks and also be used for combat. With this, he managed to defeat all the orcs. Fado couldn't believe what he had done, maybe because of the lessons from Arrow. But anyway, Avaricious said to collect the orc ears to return to Babylon soon. Then we see him enter the Adventurers Guild to sell those ears. The other warriors were amazed to see him, as not just anyone could collect so many ears alone. But when he was about to sell them, the group that fought with the orcs arrived. One of them told Fado that he stole from them, saying that all orcs belonged to them. Fado couldn't stand it and taught them a lesson, including all of their friends. Now he could sell those ears. This has given him a lot of money, about 100 gold coins. But suddenly Roxy came with Mugen and Miria, who had been told there was trouble in the guild. Fortunately, Roxy wouldn't suspect Fado, although she still asked some questions about whether he was the cause of this chaos. Fado confessed but explained that it was in self-defense. Fado asked what would be done to him. Roxy said he wouldn't get away with it this time, just as a warning, and the attackers would be taken to jail only for one night to reflect on their actions. Roxy asked what Fado's name was. He referred to himself as Cadaver. Roxy asked Fado not to cause any more trouble and recommended paying more attention to his appearance because Fado's clothes were attention-grabbing. Fado ran away after hearing this, now realizing that his attire was indeed flashy. Avaricious suggested that Fado buy a cover-up so he could slightly change his style of dress. However, Fado couldn't do it because he was still short on money. Suddenly, he met the person from the shop earlier, who told him that he had defeated some evil people. He offered something. He wanted Fado to use his combat gear so that he would become more famous by defeating monsters, and people would wonder about his clothes and want to know where he bought them. This way, the shop would get more customers. Fado agreed to work with him, as in the end, both would benefit. He helped Fado with the clothes, which looked very elegant and strong. But there was something strange. He said that the clothes would cost 80 gold coins, which should have been part of the promotion, and in exchange, he would take the clothes for free. But it turned out not to be the case. However, the man told him not to worry because he would give him a 50% discount, and amid laughter that made the situation somewhat uncomfortable. Fado agreed to pay the man later at sunset because he would be hungry, so he looked for a place to eat. At that time, he saw a bar full of people, but he decided to go in because he was sure there was good food there. There he met a girl with sky blue hair, who mesmerized everyone with her charm. They looked at each other, and Fado froze immediately. He said he couldn't take his eyes off her and wondered what this feeling was, so he thought maybe she also had skills from one of the 7 deadly sins. The girl approached him and said she had been waiting for him, calling him by name. With this, the main character confirmed that indeed he had skills from one of the 7 deadly sins. Then they sat down and talked. She introduced herself as Eris, Eris of Lust. She asked Fado to take off his mask so she could see him better. Once again, Fado froze as he looked at her briefly. He apologized because it was unintentional. The effect it had on others was a side effect of lust. Anyone who saw her would feel attracted to her, meaning everyone would fall in love with her. Then Eris raised a glass to their meeting. She stood up, and Fado glanced at her chest for a moment, so he shook his head to not be distracted. Eris recounted that she had been observing him all this time since he was in the capital, and when she realized his abilities, she thought of contacting him but decided to wait because she knew that someday she would meet Avaricious. Fado asked if she knew Avaricious. She must also know May. She said yes, but didn't speak much to her because she was from the 2nd generation and didn't know much about people from the 1st generation. Fado asked how Eris could tell who was from the 1st, and she said Eris and May didn't like each other because they weren't from the same generation. Fado was still bothered by Ara's chest, who was also clever. She would also watch, I guess because she said they were big enough. But okay, then Eris congratulated Fado for killing Haniel. She thought it surely wasn't easy and thanked him for taking the job from her. She said it seemed like he knew everything, and Eris replied that no, for example, she didn't know who left it where she found it and there might still be some more that could cause a lot of trouble. And with the weaknesses in the knights now, she doubted they could eradicate it. Now she said she would get straight to the point. Eris recounted that besides having great sinful abilities, she had another identity, namely as a guardian of the kingdom. Eris said she worked for a better future for this world. She didn't care if it took 500 years or 1,000 years. As long as it benefited the kingdom, she would agree to it. Phaedo asked what she wanted to achieve with this, and she said it was for Roxy. Roxy must die in Galia. Phaedo was very angry and asked why she wanted Roxy dead. She asked if he knew the aggression phenomenon. When a monster falls, its aggression persists, meaning it never disappears, and after years it increases little by little until it gives birth to a beast with a crown, and this phenomenon can also occur in humans, which means discrimination, and also the shortcomings of the Holy Knights are also the accumulation of aggression in people, and if added with the death of the only beloved Holy Knight, namely Roxy, will create humans with new powers. From here will emerge someone very strong with extraordinary abilities who can guide the kingdom on the right path, meaning opposite to the beast with the crown. So this is the plan being carried out by Eris, making Roxy die in Galia. Phaedo froze hearing all that she said. She said that Roxy's death would not bring any good. She was the only one who cared for everyone and her death would only cause disaster for everyone. Phaedo, very angry, left the place. Eris said that the plan was already in motion and there was no way to stop it. As Phaedo walked angrily through the city, she said that everything she heard didn't matter to her. What mattered was protecting Roxy, no matter what happened. The next day, Norl told Roxy that they lost contact with a team that went to Galia, and until now it was unknown what happened to them, so Roxy decided to go to Galia to search for and rescue them. On the other hand, we see Phaedo at Jade Avaricia's shop. She wants to make a scabbard.